12 News at 10 with Mark Curtis and Caribe Divine starts now.
He is the self-proclaimed polygamous prophet who admitted to sexually abusing multiple girls and taking them as his child brides. Now tonight, federal prosecutors are demanding that Samuel Bateman be sentenced to 50 years in prison for his crimes. Good evening and thanks so much for joining us for 12 News at 10. I'm Caribe Divine.
And I'm Troy Hayden. Mark's off tonight. 12 News journalist Chase Golightly has been following this story since the FLDS leader was arrested 2 years ago. Joins us live in studio now with new developments. Chase, what's going on?
Well, Troy, Caribe, if accepted, this is basically a life sentence for 48-year-old Bateman. We obtained the newly released documents just a few hours ago and includes new details of how he rose to power within the FLDS church. Samuel Bateman had dozens of followers and more than 20 wives. According to the FBI, about half of them were children, with the youngest just 9 years old. They all lived in Colorado City, Arizona, home of the FLDS, a subsect of the Mormon religion that practices polygamy, with Bateman as their self-proclaimed prophet. For years, the FBI says Bateman used his power to force those young girls into having group sex acts with him and his followers, committing these crimes in multiple states. He was arrested in Flagstaff back in 2022 after being found with some of his child brides in the back of this unsecured trailer.
Saw fingers poking out of the trailer.
Now, after admitting to the abuse and taking a plea deal, prosecutors are asking Bateman be sentenced to 50 years in a federal prison. Do you think 50 years is enough?
I think 50 years is a start, but I think he deserves a whole lot more than that.
Flora Jessup knows all too well about the abuse within the religion.
I was raised in the FLDS and escaped when I was 16 years old after getting married.
While Relief Bateman and his followers are being sentenced for these heinous crimes, she says nothing can completely heal those who face so much abuse.
These girls were robbed of their childhood. These poor girls were robbed of their ability to sleep safe at night.
The document also reveals another reason why Bateman became the new prophet. In 2012, after Warren Jeffs, the previous prophet, was sentenced to life in prison for sexual assault against children, the document claims Jeff disbanded all FLDS marriages until he was released. Since in the religion, only the prophet can ordain marriages, Bateman and his co-conspirators installed a new prophet so they could carry out sex acts and obtain new wives, including children.
They wanted to continue with the perversions and the abuses that they had been living with for so many years. And that's the bottom line of it.
Now, Bateman took the plea deal back in April, and since then his sentencing date has been pushed back several times. It is now scheduled for this upcoming Monday, and Phoenix will be there, and we'll keep you updated on the court's decision. We're live in the studio. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
Chase, thank you. Mesa Public Schools has a brand new superintendent after a vote by the district's governing board earlier tonight. Board members chose Dr. Matthew Strom out of 3 finalists for that position. He'll be replacing Dr. Andy Forlis. She's retiring this summer. Dr. Strom has spent 27 years in public education across a variety of roles. He's currently an associate superintendent at the district and previously worked in Chandler Unified as an assistant superintendent. Dr. Strom is set to start his new role July 1st once a contract is finalized and approved by the board.
Now to Tempe, where a woman says that she and her dog were walking at a park when they were attacked. The dog would later die from its injuries. 12 News journalist Brenda Lipinski looked into the case and whether the alleged victim knew the alleged attacker.
The woman says she regularly sees 2 boys with their pit bulls at the park, and this time they were with adults, one of whom got into an argument with the woman.
I was hit by the staff across the face a couple of times. There's still a bit of a bruise. There's a big knot.
71-year-old Donna Steen says she was attacked at Dwight Park near Corrine and Southern in Tempe.
The elbow was scraped, and I ended up with the bruise that covered most of the forearm.
She claims she was hit by a woman who was with a couple of boys and 2 pit bulls.
I've never seen her before.
Donna says the woman yelled insults at her
And accused me of being a child molester, just everything vile, pedophile, predator, a Karen, which I had never heard the term. I had to ask her what it was.
Recording on Facebook Live.
She grabbed my staff. She beat me with it across the chest and across the face twice. She took her 2 hands, placed them on my chest, took a step and just pushed me.
A witness who chose not to go on camera says it was then one of the pit bulls got loose.
She had Trixie, one of the dogs, in her mouth and was chewing on her. It was absolutely horrific.
Trixie was rushed to the vet, but would die hours later. We showed up to the residence where the alleged attacker lives, and her sister came out.
She's been an HOA representative for these condominiums for at least more than 10 years, and she has always been harassing my sister.
Saying the entire incident could have been avoided.
He's the one that instigated the fight with my minor children at the park.
The woman saying she tried to break up the fight.
Well, to the person of the dog, I apologize, and I didn't expect for things to escalate how they did.
Tempe police say their investigation shows no dogs were off a leash and say misdemeanor charges have been sent to the city's prosecuting office against 5 people from 2 parties involved. Brenda Lupinski, 12 News.
Fresh off a record-breaking heat day yesterday, Lindsay Riley joining us now with our weather impact forecast. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, yes, and we're not setting any more records for the rest of the week, but our temperatures will remain above average. We should actually be in the 60s right now. Today, we made it to the 70s. Tomorrow, close to 80 degrees again, but again, shy of a record. And temperatures slowly sliding into the low 70s by early next week. So generally speaking, a small cooling trend, but we're above average through Monday. Overnight lows tonight will be in the upper 40s to low 50s. Downtown Phoenix waking up to 56 out the door tomorrow morning. So a cool start. You might need an extra layer or 2. And even at 9 a.m., many communities still in the 50s, but we're going to be in the 70s for a good part of the afternoon tomorrow. In fact, we'll peak right about 79, full sunshine and light wind speeds. And then up in the high country, close to 60 in Prescott. Beautiful day tomorrow. In Flagstaff, we're around 51 degrees at 2 p.m. and near 60 along the rim. Troy?
Lindsay, thank you. Yeah, weather plays into this story. 12 News has reported extensively on the rapid growth we're seeing here in Arizona. And a question often asked is, do we have enough water for all these new people? But maybe an equally important question should be, do we have enough power? Longer, hotter summers have more air conditioners running more hours. And high-tech projects are moving here that require unprecedented amounts of electricity to operate. It has our utilities scrambling to keep up with demand. So some are saying one answer for our future energy needs is expanding what is already the most powerful nuclear power plant in our country. And it's less than an hour's drive from downtown Phoenix. It cuts an imposing presence in the desert, just 45 miles from the heart of Phoenix. Massive concrete domes, huge ponds and cooling towers. The Palo Verde Nuclear Generating Station is the most powerful nuclear plant in the United States, providing enough energy to serve 4.5 million people in Arizona, California, New Mexico, Nevada, and Texas. We got a tour.
So this is our Unit 2. The big dome is where the reactor's held.
Tim Gaffney is the work management director at Palo Verde. He showed us some of the security protecting the installation, including these huge doors designed to withstand a missile attack. They protect a big backup generator. Tim, show me these really quickly. I don't think I've ever seen a cement door this thick. Why do we have the thickness on these doors?
That is a missile door.
So you're protecting it with a 46,000-pound door?
The door, yeah. We want to protect these.
The plant uses the reaction of nuclear fuel in water to heat that water to very high temperatures. That water then heats clean, non-radioactive water that is pumped into a building next door as steam, turning these massive turbines and generating the electricity. These cooling towers outside safely cool that water down. The water Palo Verde uses for all this is stored in massive ponds, and it's actually wastewater pumped in from Phoenix. The power generated goes into the electrical grid. And if you've ever wondered what the actual grid looks like, take a look. Palo Verde is home to the biggest switcher in the Western grid. 12,000 megawatts of electricity flow through here, enough to power over 12 million customers.
Palo Verde, these 3 reactors put 4,200 megawatts of power onto that, right? So a third of the power in that switchyard are from these reactors.
But as with all forms of generating electricity, even wind, solar, and hydroelectric, there are trade-offs. With nuclear energy, one of the big ones is the spent radioactive fuel. We have no national plan to deal with it. In fact, every ounce of nuclear material ever used at Palo Verde, incredibly, since the 1980s, is still sitting in these huge metal and concrete casks. The nuclear material inside can be dangerous for tens of thousands of years. Still, nuclear energy is seen as more and more important to reduce carbon emissions while generating massive amounts of power.
Maintaining existing nuclear and hopefully growing new nuclear is paramount.
Ted Geisler is the president of APS. He sees nuclear as his top priority for meeting the Valley's energy needs of the future. Some leaders, including newly elected Senator Ruben Gallego, want to expand Palo Verde from 3 reactors to 5, boosting its power output. But that's not something that can happen overnight.
We have to be realistic about the timing. It's likely not going to come to fruition until the mid to late 2030s, but the planning does start now.
And the president of APS told me he just got an application for a data center that would be here in the Valley, one data center that would use as much electricity as the city of Charlotte, North Carolina. So to fill that demand and more, there's talk of using small modular nuclear reactors like this. They'd be built in a factory and then dropped into places like old shut-down coal plants that are already connected to the energy grid. A site in St. John's has been talked about, but again, we're likely looking at more than a decade until these start to go online. If you're interested in more on this topic, we posted an extra 13 minutes of raw video of my tour of Palo Verde online. It was fascinating, and it's available right now on our 12 Plus app, where we're posting more and more original news content every single day. Caribe?
All right, Troy, thank you.